It's Friday, January 15, and this is your Barbados Today Evening News Update. The COVID-19 outbreak at Her Majesty's Prison Dodds will be brought under control within another 2 weeks. That's the view of Dr. Carl Ward, who was acting as a public health liaison officer at the St. Philip Penal Institution. He suggests the worst of the crisis at the prison has passed. During a press conference this afternoon, Dr. Ward revealed that of the 790 inmates at HMP Dodds, 240 of them, all males, along with 72 staff members, have so far tested positive for COVID-19. Additionally, there are 8 inmates and 2 officers awaiting results, which initial tests suggest are likely to be positive.
The inmates are stable as well, right? I think it's also important to let people understand that as we may still expect some positive cases to pop up among staff and inmates, that this is behind the crest of the wave. The wave has crested, the wave has moved on. And because of some of the delays and challenges that we've had in the country with so many tests going on in such a short space of time, what that means is that the results you're getting back now are results that were backlogged. Okay? And I think that's important for you to understand then that it's not some ongoing explosion of cases at Dodds. What you're seeing coming up as positive would have been people who were positive several days back, and we are now getting the result. Now, as far as the prison officers who would have been turned positive, if you could call it that way, in the past few days, they were either isolated already at hotels or they were here working, right? As soon as there was any hint that their result was heading in that direction, then they would have been quarantined here on compound before any confirmatory results said that they were positive.
Major Cedric Proverbs, Acting Assistant Superintendent of Prisons, assured the situation at the prison is stable, and he dismissed claims of unrest among inmates at the facility.
So far, that has been under control simply because the methods that have been tried and proven within the prison system seem to have worked very well in terms of controlling that type of behavior. And what has actually happened is that we have introduced persons from the BDF, Barbados Defense Force, into the prison setting because of a shortage of manpower that was available because of those who were placed into quarantine. They have learned quickly, but have also been able to arrest some of the threat that may be resulted from the type of conditions that the prisoners were operating under. Further to that, I believe that the prisoners themselves understand the danger. And on arriving here, one of the first things that was told to me by the medical staff here at the prison is that the prisoners seem to get it.
Meanwhile, the COVID-19 outbreak at HMP Dodds has delayed the release of a number of inmates this month. Superintendent of Prison Colonel John Nurse assured the matter is being dealt with.
For the month of January, I'll talk to the entire month of January, there are about 26. And we are in the process of looking at how that can be achieved and achieved safely. Of course, you will appreciate that it will have some medical input into that to make sure that we're doing all of the things correctly. So that should start rolling out fairly shortly. Fortunately, there are not very many numbers as at today, but as the month unfolds, you will see it picking up a little bit.
Home Affairs Minister Wilfred Abrams also made it clear that the inmates due to be released will be freed as soon as possible.
We do not want to keep a person in prison a day or a second longer than they have to be here. If you have served your sentence and you've done your time, it is our priority to try to get you out so that you can reunite with your family. We were under a period of no one in, no one out. That was ordered by the Chief Medical Officer. In some sense, that has been lifted slightly. So we are putting arrangements in place to separate those who are due for release on a rolling 28-day period. And once we can get them to have the 2 negative tests, in that point in time, so that we are satisfied that they're not a danger to themselves or they won't pose a risk to anybody outside, then they are free to go. From the time you've been separated and you go on your second test, you are free to go with my blessing.
In other news this Friday, the National Union of Public Workers is to hold urgent talks with government officials on the issue of hazard pay. Today, workers from several medical facilities walked off the job, demanding the pay which was announced for workers at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital this week. Acting General Secretary of the National Union of Public Workers, Wayne Walron, told Barbados Today the union has been inundated with calls about the pay. The union urged workers to return to work to allow for discussions to take place on the matter.
What I could tell you also is that there has been a rush on the NUPW with so many category of workers arguing that they also should be included. It has been a very, 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 very demanding situation. It's something that we have to manage because I think virtually every worker now is making a claim that they should get this allowance. So it's something where, as my deputy was here when he addressed the others, Brother Richard Green, that you have to set the criteria, you have to be clear the categories, the criteria, how you're going to approach this matter. And this is exactly where we're going to go in that direction. So, as I said, we will try to move expeditiously and get in the relevant authorities, get around there with us and discuss this matter.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news now in Jamaica, there are calls for a lockdown of the parish of Manchester, where COVID-19 cases are spiraling out of control. We get the details from Television Jamaica.
Medical Health Officer Dr. Nadine Williams was the bearer of bad news. COVID cases continue to soar in the parish, and some residents are making matters worse.
Persons are still attending parties, still attending big funerals, grave digging and such gatherings. Persons are still not wearing their masks in public spaces as they should. And persons are still going about their business when they are symptomatic. So when we call the persons who are positive and we interview them, you will get perhaps sometimes up to 20 contacts, and these are people who are symptomatic, and yet they are still going around and exposing other persons.
669 confirmed cases in Manchester since the outbreak of the pandemic last year, 50 of them active, with 24 deaths. But even persons who display symptoms of the virus and those who have been confirmed positive are still causing problems.
And even when they're told that you need to be quarantined, because we make telephone contact initially, and then we'll give them the physical copy of the quarantine order. So unless they have that physical copy, they still feel as if they can go about their business freely.
On the international scene, the United Kingdom is to close all travel corridors from Monday morning to protect against the risk of as yet unidentified new strains of COVID-19. Word of this today from Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
Yesterday, we announced that we're banning flights from South America and Portugal, and to protect us against the risk of as yet unidentified new strains, we will also temporarily close all travel corridors from 0400 hours on Monday. Following conversations with the devolved administrations, we will act together so this applies across the whole of the UK. This means that if you come to this country, you must have proof of a negative COVID test that you have taken in the 72 hours before leaving, and you must have filled in your passenger locator form, and your airline will ask for proof of both before you take off. You may also be checked when you land and face substantial fines for refusing to comply, and upon arrival you must then quarantine for 10 days, not leaving your home for any reason at all, or take another test on day 5 and wait for proof of another negative result. And we will be stepping up our enforcement both at the border and in country.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.